Okay, so Wes Ferris, if you could turn to your textbook, page 25. We're going to go through number 10, which oddly compares bicycles and cheese. We're not sure why it chose those two products, but it doesn't really matter which two products we're comparing. What we're trying to find out is a production possibilities curve as well as the opportunity cost for each item. So question A asks you to calculate the opportunity cost, and it's not specifically saying that you need the production possibilities curve. However, it's always suggested that you do so because visually it's a better representation in economics. So, for example, you'll see on the smartboard, once you get this downloaded on the My Site, I have on the smartboard the graph of the bicycles and cheese. So it takes it from a numerical format, the bicycles in one column, the cheese in the other, and moves it to a graph. Okay. So you won't see the smartboard right now, but in the recorded lesson you will. So all I've done, if you had done the homework and done the production possibilities curve, which it didn't ask you to do, but if you had, you would see plotted points. So these plotted points are just respective of how many bicycles are being produced and how much cheese is being produced. So for the production possibilities curve to actually be a curve, you join the points together once they're plotted on the graph. The opportunity cost for each of them, if you look at the difference between point A and point B, you can produce no bicycles and 170 kilograms of cheese, or one bicycle and 160 kilograms of cheese. Therefore, the opportunity cost of actually producing each bicycle in this case, when you moved from 0 to 1, you had to give up a certain amount of cheese. And in this case, you gave up 10 kilograms of cheese. The difference between 170 and 160 is 10. If you go between point B and point C, the difference between 160 and 140 is now 20 kilograms of cheese. The opportunity cost of going from one bicycle to two bicycles in your production is 20 kilograms of cheese. If you continue on from point C to point D, you're looking at a difference of 140 and 110, which is 30 kilograms of cheese. 110 to 160, or sorry, 110 to 60, which is 50 kilograms of cheese. And lastly, from point E to point F brings you from 60 to 0, which is 60 kilograms of cheese. OC stands for opportunity cost. So when you see the PowerPoint, you'll see that I've written this out and it says opportunity cost. The question asks you of each additional bicycle being produced. If the question asked you what is the opportunity cost of 5 bicycles being produced, you would therefore look from 0 to 5, and you would have to take 170 kilograms of cheese and subtract it from 0. So therefore, your opportunity cost in that case would be 170 kilograms of cheese. So for every additional bicycle, you actually just go to the one row. If you need to know the difference in several bicycles, then you have to go from one level to the next. I'll get into that in a little bit more too. So the second part said use the data in the table to graph a production possibilities curve, which we've done. Part C, mark a point H on the graph that indicates widespread unemployment in country X. We're assuming that country X, for some reason, is creating bicycles and cheese, like I said. It doesn't make sense. But if there's widespread unemployment in the country, economically that's telling us that there is not efficient use of resources. They're not using their employees efficiently. So in order to create point H, therefore, we're not going to reach the maximum of our production possibilities curve. Point H must be somewhere within the possibilities curve. It must be closer to the point 0. So you haven't reached the production possibilities curve at being point H. The next part asks for point J that represents the level that cannot be reached given the current economy. So therefore, J must be outside of your curve, and it must be somewhere that cannot be reached given the current economic situation. That would be represented in blue. So H is anywhere below your production possibilities curve or within the curve, so to speak, meaning that you haven't used your resources wisely. Point J, therefore, is outside of that curve, and that's where you cannot be reached unless you add additional people resources or material resources. Okay, so I'm going to record that, and we're going to try and see if you guys can see it.